In this lecture, we have to discuss if there is any scientific method that you can follow without thinking and get the success, or else there is no such kind of method or algorithm, but there are aim. For example, an aim could be to satisfy certain conditions, and then you have to think yourself how to fulfill these conditions. So science is without thinking method, or thinking about how to satisfy aims and conditions. So what is special to science? What defines science? That's the overall topic. But science, whatever it is, has to start working on something which could be initial data or previous knowledge. The data is obtained by others, and others have explained the data as well, and you have to improve on it. You have to work on the data. That is a stage for which there are variety of methods. That's why I have to say that. And then we have to continue in this lecture to discuss how to improve on the previous knowledge. And the ideal for improving it, that you think yourself of a better or new explanation. And if you, for that, a Nobel Prize says that there is no scientific method, but at maybe lower level there can be something like a method or so that you can follow. Anyway, there is scientific procedure or working method or practice that I have to introduce. And this all practice, I'll say, this has a purpose, and the purpose is that you take help of the practice or otherwise, or think what yourself, or with a variety. That thing, one thing you have to do, you have to satisfy conditions that define science. And in this lecture we have to discuss only a necessary condition, that your whatever you have thought of a new explanation, no result of that should clash with observation. No result means no derived visible results should clash with observation. So that's a necessary condition, and sufficient condition is the topic of next lecture. Now the content of the lecture, this lecture, is that we have to first mention the background on which the scientific work is done, and that background is information that you have to improve it. And the information may be rarely your own observation or data, or more commonly observation done by others, and equally commonly that the others have already worked on others' observation, and they have come up with the explanation of observation, and you have to improve it. So improve it, first you should know what is the existing data or previous explanation, and that is anyone who does research, or anyone who will do this research, they will know a term called literature review. In that case, you get this initial background on which you work on. And for this getting background knowledge, there are a variety of methods, and they are taught in a PhD, typically research methodology course. But the work starts, and the highest level of works is that you think yourself of an explanation of either your observations or others' observations, or previous explanation, and you think yourself of improving on previous explanation. And the highest level could be the thing you think yourself. And Peter Medawar, who is biology Nobel laureate, who must have Nobel laureate, must have thought himself, and he says there is no scientific method. I have read his book Limits of Scientific Method. Presently I don't have it, but I quite remember that in that book Medawar said that thinking new ideas in science is a human creative ability as that of a poet. As a poet thinks and scientist thinks. That's the thinking stage. There is a comparison, the commonality between creativity of a poet and creativity of scientist. But that in the later stages the differences arise. But anyway, before finishing this slide, I have to clarify that if you are discouraged by the thing, by the above comment by Peter Medawar, and if you don't have ability, creative ability, yourself creative ability to think of a new idea, like a poet can think of a new poetry, so that quotation by Peter Medawar by a Nobel laureate may be discouraging to you. You think of that if you don't have ability, then you can't do research. So for that, I have to clarify that that was only at a Nobel Prize level. In the lower, middle or lower level, there are other ways which you can even say methods, and one of them could be what is called abduction. And abduction is inference to the best explanation, that whatever you have previous information or data or observation, you think of explanation. If you are not able to think of a great explanation like a Peter Medawar is, like a poetry, still whatever minor modification you can think of that, and then if your even minor modification or so, if you have thought 2 or 3 hypotheses, then just choose what is the best of them, and which is weaker, you continue leaving it. Or any idea which any hypothesis that you have thought it, but which is not consistent with existing knowledge, that you better leave as well. So you remain leaving, which is worse, and maybe you are left eventually with something whatever is the best of your effort. So if that has given you some hint towards a method, that's good. That at least encourages you that even if you are not able to think like a poet, still you can do something. Or if you cannot yourself think even that, then take help of others who have already thought either Peter Medawar level great ideas, Nobel laureate, or just best of possible available explanations by others. And if you're thinking how will you know what others have thought, the answer is again the term which I said, literature review. In literature review, you can also survey of your previous publication or previous books, or more commonly previous articles published in scientific research journals. You can read, or you can select and read in such a way to know, to try to know of some previous ideas which others have written, but you guess that others who have written, they are so established scientists that they themselves will not work on each and every detail of their ideas. In that case, whether to guess or not, that comes with the practice. But anyway, if you have judged that there is a room of working, improving on their ideas, and they have themselves have not done it, your literature review says, then you can work on the ideas of others as well. And this is all a topic of a course on research methodology in a PhD. But anyway, if you have to think of idea, then what is the purpose of idea? If you think yourself, or those who think, what do they do? And the answer could be that they have an aim, that they have to satisfy certain conditions, and that necessary condition would be that whatever idea they have thought it, no result of idea, no visible result of idea should clash with observation, and there should be no logical or mathematical mistake in their idea or its implication or results and all this and that. Now, logically, this what I said in the previous two lines is a demand of what is called law of contrapositive, which say that if you have any result or any derivation of from your idea, from your hypothesis or your theory or model or law, if any result from this is wrong, then your hypothesis thinking idea is wrong. This is useful because now the condition is not on invisible rule or idea, but the condition is on visible results. Now, visible results, you can check it. You can see what you saw or you did not see. So that's useful. If you don't use law of contrapositive, then you have to directly check something which is not visible, which is a scientific rule, and that would have been directly checking energies or charges or probabilities or law that you cannot see. It would have been hard to think of how can one check something which is not visible. But if you have to check its visible result, then okay, the meaningful thing you can check, you can see. Did you see that, or you saw something else? So aim. I come back to that. So the aim of all this is that you have to think of an idea, or you get from others the idea, which are objective or universal, in the sense that you think that either people will not oppose it, or if they oppose it, you can defend your ideas. And it's also necessary that your ideas or thought should be able to be checked. Namely, that ideas or thought or models or laws or thinking, whatever you have done it, you should be able to derive predictions which can be seen. And these such predictions, they should not be against actual observation, and that is a condition, which is the condition for being a scientific statement, and the aim of a thinking idea and so on is that you have to satisfy the condition. And I think I'm now, maybe you have seen, I'm supporting that you have to think. Science is not without thinking, just following the practice. You have to think how to. Science defines only aim and condition. How to get that aim, in principle, at least at the higher level, you have to think yourself, not any idea, any procedure that you can follow without thinking. At least that's the idea, that there's the highest standard of science if you can do it. Now, having used law of contrapositive, and I have to clarify, the law of contrapositive says that if there's any result of whatever your hypothesis is, if a result is wrong, your hypothesis is wrong, your idea is wrong, you think your model law theory is wrong. Okay? And if it is, but wrong is not that you target. Wrong is not your aim. Your aim is to get an idea whose result is right. Now, I have to say, if result is right, does that prove your idea or model or law or theory? And the answer is not, because if it is correct, one result is correct, that is one out of many possible results. So if you have checked that one result is right, your same idea or law or theory or model may have other results, and if you have 10 correct results but one wrong result, then law of contrapositive would say that eventually your idea or hypothesis or theory may turn out to be wrong. And that's why science changes. You remain at the risk of being refuted. That's the term used in the next lecture, that your idea may be rejected. But practically, the rejection means actually rejection is the first stage towards replacing it by something better. Namely, what I'm saying, rejection, that's a negative word, but eventually in science that becomes a part of improvement, and improvement is a good word. But still room for improvement remains, and in other way of saying it, that scientific statements remain unproved. If they are proved, then there is no room for improvement. So unproved, you don't take it always as a bad, totally bad comment. Unproved means that there is a room for improvement. And now I have a reference for what I said, the necessary condition, the law of contrapositive, that no result of your idea should be rejected by observation. It should not be wrong. Now this thing, so far I have said it in my word, but now you can see this is physics Nobel laureate Feynman also writes that it doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is, it doesn't matter how smart you are, if it doesn't agree with the experiment, it is wrong. So it's a necessary condition on that. Okay, having finished the slide almost, I have to clarify at least before going to the next slide, is that what for Feynman says that your theory should not disagree, should not clash with the experiment. And he must have meant, and you should know after studying the philosophy of science, that theory is invisible and experiment is visible, so directly they cannot be checked for agreeing or not agreeing. So what Feynman must have meant is that the logical derivation, visible results of theory should not agree with what I mean to say, that if visible results of theory any visible result of theory does not agree with the experiment, then that your theory is wrong. So this visible result is understood. Now I'm preparing for the next lecture, and preparing means that I am saying that what I have said about in this lecture, that a scientific idea, theory or model or law should not clash with its results should not clash with experiment. Is it necessary or is it sufficient? There's a question, and my answer is that it is what I've said so far in this lecture is only a necessary condition. It's not sufficient. Mainly, that means that there may well be an idea or hypothesis or theory or model that satisfies this necessary condition, that has no violation with the experiment or observation, but still it's not scientific. An example could be a statement by the famous physics popularizer named Neil deGrasse Tyson, who says in one of his videos that there are many universes. You need not go into details about what is many universes means. He calls them multiverse. Essential thing is, whatever they are, there could be pockets of the universe that are expanding with no knowledge of any other. So they are saying so if this is our universe, it has no knowledge of other universes. Now, no knowledge means that no contradiction. If there's nothing, how can anyone clash with it? If you have no knowledge, then whatever you know, it cannot be against that. If you have a knowledge, so something can be different to knowledge again. But if you have no knowledge, then nothing can be against. So that means this statement, by definition, this is not wrong, but that doesn't mean it is a scientific statement. So it satisfies the necessary condition, but it's something more to science than just this only wild thinking. Okay, so I should say that it's not only Tyson is not alone. It's a full-fledged school of thought who thinks that such ideas are science. It's a controversy. So my purpose is not to comment on school of thought. My first purpose is to let you think that if someone says that, is that science? Another practice is that if someone says that in trying to explain the origin of species, origin of animal and plants in biology, suppose someone says, this time I'm not naming anyone. If it's just a practice of for your ability, if you are generating some ability through this philosophy of science course, that if someone says that species in animal and plants in biology originated by some process or other, some unknown process, can this statement be checked? Or when to be say, is this statement clashing with observation, clashing with knowledge? Obviously not, because something is unknown, it cannot be compared with anything. So your prediction is unknown, so prediction, you can't do any prediction, and if there is no prediction, there is no clash with any observation. So the necessary condition is fulfilled, but does that mean that is this a scientific statement? If someone says that, and my comment and the comment of this course is that if you make a statement which is in its structure is of this nature that it cannot be wrong, but if the reason for cannot be wrong is that it is of this nature that it cannot be compared with observation, then something cannot be compared with observation, then this cannot be science. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to compare directly with observation. Maybe you have to derive results and then compare with observation. Maybe either directly comparison with observation or indirectly comparison with observation. Something must be there if the statement is scientific. If there is no knowledge, as the Tyson says, of any kind is possible, or the process is unknown, then these things have no relation with observation. There can be speculation, but these cannot be science. At least that's one philosophy which I am going to pursue in this course. There can be difference of opinion here, and I don't deny that. But I say that this kind of statement which satisfy necessary condition, they are not science because they do not satisfy sufficient condition. And the sufficient condition is the topic of next, and there I finish. With saying that what we have learned in this is that scientific method, at one stage you have to think of explanation, better explanation to improve previous knowledge. For thinking, there is no method that you can follow without thinking. Maybe that goes without is clear. And if you want me to tell some method, then I can say what explanation comes to your mind, or you know of. Select the best available. You remain throwing away which has any problem. But this is one way, or whatever way. There can be a variety of selecting the best. But whatever you do, you have to make an aim of fulfilling the condition, and the condition is that your results should not clash with observation. But that's a necessary condition. But that is not enough. That's not scientific. That's not sufficient for making a scientific statement. There can be statement which satisfy this middle necessary condition, but actually they satisfy because they have no relation with observation. Such statement do not satisfy sufficient condition, and such are in the philosophy I teach in this course, such are not scientific statement. So that's all in this lecture. Thank you very much for watching it.